Previously on the greatest trek. We've flown into Vietnam and plan to ride 2,000 kilometres from Ho Chi Minh City to Hanoi. Our first task was to trade currency for a couple of hogs and get our heads around how to use them. Once the bikes had been acquired, we took a brief moment to explore Ho Chi Minh City and uncovered the hectic VN10 markets. But with time against us on this trip, by day 3 we had to tie our potato sacks to the back of our hogs and hoon on out of Ho Chi Minh City as we made headways for the historical town of Cu Chi. Our first ride on the guzzling hogs was quite eventful, and after a few scrote-wriggling moments, we arrived in Cu Chi safe and sound. We ordered a fresh frog and tucked it in for a feast that the French would refer to as being, well, rather delicious. 4 days into this grand endeavour of crossing Vietnam by motorbike, and we've managed to get out of Ho Chi Minh City and into the town of Cu Chi, home to an elaborate underground tunnel system made famous through the Vietnam War. Anyone with even a remote interest in the many conflicts Vietnam has had to endure must visit this place. We rolled into the town of Cu Chi the previous night not knowing where we should be, so we just checked into the first hotel we could find. And after leaving the hotel this morning, the first battle was to find the tunnels, as everyone we asked would point at the sky saying that, well, we were already in Cu Chi.
Well, it's like we've got a golden ticket. This is the map, allegedly, to where the tunnels are, and we're right there. So, yeah, we're gonna follow this lead, and hopefully we crawl in some tunnels today.
Well, with Mo's fancy map in hand, surely it couldn't be that difficult to navigate ourselves down the road to the tunnels. This was so exciting. We couldn't believe we were actually doing this, riding around the streets of Vietnam at our own peril. The sense of freedom is indescribable. We arrived at the Ben Din Cu Chi tunnel site around mid-morning. The site is more than just a few underground tunnels. The place has been preserved and maintained to give you a real idea as to what it used to be like to survive and fight as a Viet soldier back in the day. Okay, we just, after about a 30-minute ride from where we stayed last night, we finally got here at Cu Chi? Cu Chi? Finally got here at Cu Chi, where all the underground tunnels are. We're gonna go down now, check out the tunnels. There's also a firing range down there, which has got us really excited. So we finally got off the highways, which was like really cool. And we were just on both sides of the road. There was just open fields. There was cows in the fields, and went past a few rivers and whatnot. So it's starting to feel like we're actually you're starting to see a bit of the Vietnam we kind of came to see. We walked on through the grounds in search of the starting line, and once we did find it, we of course had to sit through the ever-educational briefing video.
On the left hand of Saigon River, immense with its gentle waters, fondling the waves night and day.
As much as the video is informative, we were here to see the real thing, so we snuck out a back door and begun our tour of the Cu Chi tunnel site. We've been trekking for about 4 kilometres in cheeky little circles, but we're finally on the trek now to the tunnels. Pretty exciting. We just saw a load of guns and bombs, and a bit of an eerie place actually. The jungle terrain made it incredibly difficult for the outsiders to try and fight in. Scattered about the place was large craters in the ground from bombs being dropped, and no matter where you walked, there's always traps waiting for victims.
At times the local people, they not enough gun for fighting. They no choice. They make traps like this for to keep our enemy attack Cu Chi land here. You can see the put underground here many spies cut from the bamboo tree. Very sad. So it's a real one, the booby trap here, no friend, no concrete like this.
After feasting our eyes on some pretty horrific looking booby traps, we were finally led to one of the tunnels we'd so often heard about.
Make it small so that easy to get down. Right.
Chết kìa, khỏi chết.
Mấy cái không phòng chết rồi.
Rồi luôn rồi.
Another way, yeah.
We are inside one of the tunnels right now. He just closed the door on me.
Very claustrophobic, very narrow. See, that's the tunnel they're dealing with. And then there's a tunnel there. And then we've got a cheeky exit up here. And then you're free.
That's it, we'd crawled in a tunnel. We thought the deed was done. Think again. We got led down an entryway deep into the ground. Welcome to hell.
Ow. Into another tunnel. Holy shit, there's like a bat there. There's a bat right ahead. Oh shit. There's a bat. Ah, dude.
Where did that come from?
I don't know. Fuck. Alright, ready?
Yeah.
I don't want to take on this bat.
Take care of good down here. Good down here.
Just crawl, man.
Yeah.
Oh my
Did you feel
god.
that?
Yeah.
I think we're safe.
It's unbelievably tiring. Shit.
This way, yeah.
It's so warm down here as well. And that bat back there, absolutely. That was really quite creepy. Oh.
We've approached this motorcycle trip with no fear in our eyes. But, embarrassingly enough, it was a bat that proved to be our first undoing. We later learned that these tunnels were also infected with ants, spiders, and vermin. The tunnels we got to crawl through are but a small example of the immense underground system that covers much of the country. The tunnels we got to explore were only a few meters underground, but still the small spaces to climb in made it impossibly difficult to breathe. You could only imagine what it must have been like to be living and fighting in the very same spaces.
That was absolutely ridiculously awesome. Wow. We're just so sweaty, we just got like pools of water off our bodies right now. That was like something. I'm so glad that they actually allow you to go under and actually walk in those things, because just looking at it on a piece of paper, you don't realize, like, wow, it would have been so humid down there. And that was like 1 story down. So imagine 3 stories down, you would lose air.
The Coochie tunnels really delivered. And now, with our sweaty balls back on the hogs, we were in search of something even more exciting. The infamous Coochie firing range. We couldn't wait to get our mitts on some weaponry.
Okay, so we wandered around some roads, and turns out there was like a rear entrance to the shooting range, which we managed to find now. There's a little underground bunker there if you have a look, and that seems to lead out to the range itself, so let's go see what weapons they have on show.
Our weapon of choice, the best assault rifle of the Vietnam War, the Soviet AK-47. This thing packs a punch.
Okay.
One more.
We were seriously taken back at how explosive and powerful these machines were.
Awesome.
This thing would take no prisoners, and it's utterly horrifying to think about the horrors of these things in play on the battlefield.
Okay, so we scurried through some tunnels, and then we fired off some AKs, and that was just insane. Unless you've done it, no movie or no little sound clip is going to do this thing justice. It's an absolute cannon. The sound that it makes, I just don't understand how soldiers use this gun without going deaf the first time they fire around. But it was very good, gave us a feel of just how powerful those things are and how dangerous they are. Anyway, we're driving back to our little hotel, and we just stopped by this field, and it's just got an epic, like, unspoiled view, and there's little cows grazing in the distance. So yeah, we just thought we'd stop for a little while and soak it in, maybe do a little vlog, and yeah, here we are.
Day 5 of the greatest trek, and it's time to get a move on. If we're to make it to Hanoi in 24 days, we needed to start riding some serious kilometres. In Vietnam's central highlands lies a town called DaLat, which has a huge French influence that dates back to the 1900s. But before we could dream of putting our feet up in a French villa, we first had to get ourselves and the bikes there. Alright, we've been riding now for about 10 kilometres and we're just coming down this highway. The roads have been absolutely awesome this morning. We've just been going over these bridges, and on the sides of the roads there's just big, there's just jungles and trees and all that things. And we're just coming around these curves and downhills and uphills. It's just been awesome. My bike chain, as I was coming down this road, I could hear it clink a bit, and I thought it had come off, so we pulled over to the side. It's still on for now, but as we got off the bikes, we realised how hot it is, and we've just slapped a ton of sun cream on us. But we've still got about 190 something k's to go, so it's going to be a huge day. But I think we're going to bomb through it, and just can't wait to get to DaLat. It's going to be good. My wheel and chain felt like they were having a domestic argument. They really didn't want to work with each other in getting me to the next major town called Dalmot. Still, we hadn't much option other than to fang the little bikes until we could find somewhere or someone to take a look at it. About 20 kilometres later, we rode into a small town and past a garage with some so-called mechanics standing around. They were only too happy to help us out. From what we could figure, the wheel was becoming loose, which was causing the chain to slip out. So after a quick tighten and some clungy goo on the chain, it was back on to hooning the 180 odd kilometres to DaLat. Just as we started to make a bit of inroads into our quest to get to DaLat, again, the same problem, my wheel and chain, having another domestic dispute. This time, my wheel came to a skidding halt, but luckily, it was right in front of Tuan Phong's Honda garage. It looks like these guys know what, I think the chain was too long or something, so they've taken a couple of the nuggets out. It looks like instead of doing a little quick fix, actually, seem to know what they're doing, so hopefully we can get going again and do some riding to it. This guy is like, he must be about 13 years old, 14, and he just knows what's going on. I'm kind of jealous. We sat around chilling with the town sheriff while the young Mr. Fix-It-Up worked his magic, and within half an hour, we were back on the highway, in amongst the chaos of local traffic. We managed to get some decent riding in this afternoon, as we just bombed for the horizon. It was great to be on the straight and narrow. We weren't going to reach DaLat with all the problems we had had earlier, but that didn't faze us. Between towns there wasn't much really to write home about. The air was polluted with fumes, and as far as sightseeing went, it was a case of spot the fuel station every 10 kilometres or so. To be fair, they did make excellent rest stops. Today really was one of the key rides on this trip. It was all about proving to ourselves that we were actually going to be able to steer these fuel-gurgling death machines across the country. And it was quickly emerging that whilst our skills in riding these hogs were satisfactory enough, it was the hogs themselves that we had to make sure to take great care of. As just as we began to make some distance on our quest to get closer to DaLat, it should have been expected that yet again we'd be pulling over to get my poor Rwanda examined for the third time today. It was becoming a bit repetitive, and we certainly didn't want this to be the story of our trip. So we parked up into another garage, and this time we weren't going to leave until we were absolutely certain that our Mr. Fix-It-Up had actually fixed it up. We've had a few unexpected pit stops today, and with the sun setting in the distance, we rode into the next urbanised town and started looking for a place to camp for the night. There should be a hotel around here, surely. Seems like the closest to a town we've been to for a while. This is like being back in India though. Yeah, it is. Stopping up. Yeah, no problem. Oh, you see that yellow sign, the black dot, the yellow dot? Like up there.
actually don't know where we are right now. We've just been driving down this endless road looking for any place that looked like they had a room to rent out, and we found one. So we don't know where we are exactly, and we don't even know the name of this place, but we're so tired. And it just doesn't matter. We've been riding non-stop for 6 hours. We haven't had any lunch or anything like that. So it just feels really good to sit down.
Is it only 4 o'clock?
It's 5.
7 hours.
7 hours, sorry.
See what the petrol has done to you?
Been inhaling fumes of vehicles for 7 hours. We both have like these skull-cracking headaches right now. Here's to the next DaLat, actually. That's where we're going.